I was awoken by a man who had entered my room, and he was holding a knife. I believe that it was Christian Brueckner. He stole so much more from me that night. You're just a holiday rep. You know, they actually said that to me. What did you expect?
Brueckner has now been released. He's always strenuously denied attacking you. He's always strenuously denied being responsible for anything that happened to Madeleine McCann or for her disappearance. What do you make of that?
I'm fearful for myself. Why shouldn't I be? This person is being protected. I'm not. The 15th of June 2004, I walked home alone for the first time ever. I was working over there as a holiday rep. I was a little bit upset over an argument that I'd had with my then boyfriend, and I fell asleep in bed, fully dressed, and I was awoken by a man who had entered my room. He was dressed all in black from head to toe. He had a mask on which only had like cutouts for his eyes, gloves, everything. Like, he was just fully dressed in black, and he was holding a knife, and he was what greeted me when I woke up. One thing that stood out to me the most, he had the most piercing blue eyes, and I don't think it's something I will ever forget for the rest of my life, to be honest.
And who do you believe that man was?
I believe that it was Christian Brueckner. That's who I believe committed them crimes against me. I have faith in myself, and I have faith in the German police and the investigation that they carried out. They too believe that he is the person who committed the crimes against me. So yeah, I'm confident in that.
How would you describe that attack and how you felt at that time?
When somebody takes something from you that doesn't belong to them and without your permission, it just completely takes from who you are. You're gone. He stole so much more from me that night than I could ever put into words. And rebuilding after that is a really, really difficult road. He was extremely aggressive, very much out for power. He exerted that power very violently over me.
When you later saw his photograph linked to Madeleine McCann, what went through your mind?
You know, I had this probably naive opinion that a person who would, you know, target children wouldn't necessarily have the same kind of want to target a grown adult female. And I've since, you know, obviously learned that this person doesn't discriminate on age, and it's in my opinion more of a power thing for him. So when that connection was made, I found it very shocking and sickening, to be honest, that, you know, I suppose for me on a very personal level, that if I had have been able to do a bit more then, that maybe things would be different now. And I appreciate that, you know, is something that I didn't have control over really, but I can't help but feel that there is a guilt in that. Of course there is. I mean, other people need to own that too. But for me, you know, as a 20-year-old whose life was completely destroyed, you know, I give her that, you know, that freedom to be able to say, you're okay, it didn't matter, you know, you couldn't do anything about that then, but now I still feel that guilt. I do feel that guilt. I wish something had been done then.
Well, some people that were responsible and could have done something about those things then
Absolutely.
were the Portuguese authorities.
Yeah.
You've spoken about the catalogue of failures that you believe they enacted during the investigation into what happened to you. What was the most glaring failure in your case, do you believe?
From the perspective of a survivor or a victim of a crime of that nature, it was being believed, you know, and I was a hindrance to them. Oh, you know, you're just a holiday rep. You know, they actually said that to me. What did you expect? You know, the whole what were you wearing kind of thing. And that just didn't lend for me to actually, you know, feel supported or heard or, you know, held in care at all. I suppose the biggest failure for me, as well as the not being believed, was just their lack of so many different things. Their lack of investigation, their lack of sealing off the area, the room. There was people in and out of that room. I was in and out of that room afterwards because they made me. You know, I didn't give a statement. I never gave a statement. I didn't meet with the police until over a week later, after everything had happened. All these just different kind of like consistent failures that ultimately, you know, has led to where I am now, all these years later. And, you know, I feel frustrated by that. I feel hurt. I feel angered. I feel a million different emotions about what they didn't do, their lack of. And I find that really angering, to be honest.
Do you believe that Brueckner could have been stopped had the Portuguese authorities investigated what had happened to you properly then?
100%. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's too far-fetched of me to believe that if they had have done their job in 2004, that all these other crimes that this person is accused of committing afterwards, they wouldn't have happened because he would have been in prison. You know, that's on them. That's their failure. And it's shameful, like, it really is shameful that they have, by not doing their job, destroyed so many lives.
And what do you think that says for Madeleine McCann's case?
You know, it makes me sad that on so many different levels, for so many different reasons, for her family to have to go through it similar kind of as we did, as my family did, coming up against, you know, an incompetent investigation team.
As a result of that, just over 20 years later, Brueckner obviously faced a trial, but he was acquitted, especially in your case.
Yeah.
Just tell me how that felt.
It's like somebody gives you a punch in the gut, really. It's disappointing beyond measure. Like, to be told or to find out later in the judgment when it's handed that the reason being was poor investigation on behalf of the Portuguese, which is mentioned a number of times in the judgment that was given out. That again is a really hard pill to swallow.
Brueckner has now been released. He is a free man. What are your thoughts?
It hurts me on a personal level, because there's times where I'm like, especially following his release, why did I even highlight myself? Why did I go put myself through all this over the last 5 years? It's, you know, I'm hoping that, or I hoped and I hope now that things would be different, obviously, but they're not. And I'm fearful for myself, and people will say, oh, well, then why are you doing stuff like this? Why are you so public? The thing for me is, why shouldn't I be? This person is being protected. I'm not. You know, I have zero protections as a victim. I did my job as a witness to a crime and testified, and that's it. He is an extremely dangerous person. This is not just me. This is senior specialists in, you know, who are called in to give their professional opinion on people during trials, so many different trials, and they deemed him to be a psychopath. They deemed him to be somebody who was extremely dangerous and somebody who would reoffend. So that makes me extremely fearful for me and for society.
He's always strenuously denied attacking you. He's always strenuously denied being responsible for anything that happened to Madeleine McCann or for her disappearance. What do you make of that?
Of course he's going to say he's not guilty. I mean, I get that. I understand why he would. That doesn't mean it's true. I don't believe it at all.
2 decades on, what would justice look like for you?
Justice for me would be guilty. A guilty verdict. That's really ultimately what it is. But I suppose, you know, I make my own justice in a sense. You know, I find doing things in my own world and better in my own life and living is justice in itself for me on a personal note. But I really do feel that me and others deserve the real sense of justice in a court system, to be heard, to be believed, and for somebody like him not to be moving among everyday society, to not live outside of a prison wall. If he was locked away, the world would certainly be a safer place. And I know that sounds very corny, but I firmly believe it. Knowing that he's out and free to walk around and live his life feels like I'm the one in prison now again. And he's free and I'm not. You know, there was certain freedoms knowing that when I found out who the person was and he was locked up in prison, there was certain freedom in that. Didn't have that fear everywhere I went. I still live with pretty horrendous PTSD, which I will hopefully master at some stage in my life, I don't know, but that huge fear of, and being able to go to a concert. I went to my first festival ever, and I love music. I enjoyed myself. I went on holidays. I slept on the ground floor. Like, I can't do that again if he's out, ever. So I'm the one in prison. He gets to walk free. I don't think that's fair.